Hello, Clint. Clint, can you hear me? If you can hear me, go down in the bottom left corner and hit start video, please. Hello, hello. Clint, can you hear me? Hi, is this Clint?
Yes, it is.
Hey, this is Shawna. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm good, thanks. Hey, were you having trouble getting in the Zoom room or was it just me?
I was at first, and then it had me create an account that says please wait. The meeting.
Oh, weird. Okay, that's weird. You shouldn't have had to create an account. Sorry about that. Let's both click on the link again and see if that will work. Normally you get a thing that says openzoom.us and then sometimes it makes you download the Zoom software, but you shouldn't necessarily have to create an account.
Okay.
So let's see if that works, because I heard you. It makes like a doorbell sound, and so I heard the doorbell ring like you were there, but then I was talking and there was no response.
Huh.
Weird.
Let me see here.
You know what? It's saying there's, let me see. Let's see if it will let me admit you in here. There's an admit button, but it's not doing anything when I hit it. That is so weird. You're the first person I've had this happen with. I'm sorry.
All right.
Um,
So it says launching now.
okay.
That's where I was having trouble. It was stuck on that screen where it says launching.
Okay.
And then on the bottom it says if nothing prompts from browser, click here.
Yeah, hit that. Click that.
Okay. And then join from browser.
Yeah. Sounds like we're making progress. Hey, I heard the doorbell again.
All right. Yeah, it says that please wait.
All right.
Host will let you in.
Well, that is weird. Yeah, and I'm still hitting that admit thing. Are you in now?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Are you there?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Now, do you have your video on?
How do I? Oh, start video.
Yeah, down in the bottom left, hit start video.
Okay.
Hey, there you are. Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Just a second, I have no sound yet on the
Turn up your volume.
join video, and then
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're there. Cool.
All right.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Hi, Clint. And who do you have with you there?
This is my wife, Reagan.
Reagan? Nice to meet you guys. And so you guys are friends with, I think you called about a house we had listed on Mays Road, and then come to find out you ended up knowing Sean from church.
Yep.
Very cool. What church was that?
The Vineyard in Greenwood.
Absolutely. They're on Madison?
Yep.
Very good. How long have you guys been going there?
Well, we actually we've been going to a different church since then for about 2 years. One on Brookville Road called Brookville Road Christian Church, but we went there for probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah, I know a lot of people that go there. Well, cool.
Yep.
Well, hey, and I understand, let's see, I'm going to try to make my screen a little bigger there, that you guys already spoke with Jim Landwerlin and you have a pre-approval for your mortgage already. Is that right?
Yep. We just
Okay.
got some paperwork today they sent over by email.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That is super exciting. And now, will this be your first purchase for both of you?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Well, what I like to do is just kind of take some time to meet together before we actually go out and start looking at houses, because especially in, well, heck, before the whole coronavirus thing, but in this crazy market that we're in, it has been a very, very hot market, if you guys have been paying attention at all. And I believe in the price range, I think we're looking at about 150, right?
Yeah, and looking today, probably lower than that, honestly.
Okay.
But
No problem. Well, 150 and even lower is even more competitive. So chances are that when we go out and we fall in love with a house and you guys are ready to write an offer, there are going to be multiple buyers interested in that same home, and we're going to have to jump on things quickly. So that's why I kind of like to meet together before we're in the heat of the moment like that, so that we can go through everything. We can go through the contract together. I can answer any questions you guys have. And I just want you to feel well prepared before going into this. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen with you here for a minute.
Okay.
If I can figure out where I'm going. There we go. Okay, so is it going to be both of you on the purchase agreement?
Yeah, I imagine so, yes.
Okay.
Like, cause she stays at home with the kids right now, so
Okay.
I'm not working, but yeah, we both
Awesome.
have our
Okay, super. And Clint, remind me again how to spell your last name.
SCHMITH.
Okay. And can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. That's going to come in handy later. And I know I just called you a minute ago, but what's your number again, please?
317-820-8874.
Perfect. And your email?
CN as in Nancy, SCHMITH 77 at outlook.com.
All righty. And Reagan, how do you spell your first name?
Regan.
All right. And same last name?
Yep.
Perfect. And Reagan, what is your phone number?
317-654-4686.
Perfect. And your email, please.
RHARPER 29 rharper29.rh@gmail.com.
Did I get that right? rharper29.rh@gmail.com?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And I don't need the year, but we like to do something a little special for birthdays. So Reagan, we'll start with you. What is the month and day for your birthday?
October 29th.
Almost Halloween, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, and you, Clint?
June 18th.
June 18th. Perfect. And as we are going through the process, there's going to be several different times where we're communicating back and forth, whether it's when we're making the offer or going through the inspection or any of that stuff. How do you guys both prefer? We'll start with Reagan. How do you prefer the communication? Do you prefer text, email, phone call? What's best for you?
I'm probably easiest to get hold of by text with the kids.
I am so sorry. My husband must be home, and my dogs have decided to be really obnoxious. This is awesome. Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear anything you said, Reagan.
Oh,
That's right. You'll probably hear our kids screaming here in a minute.
yeah.
Perfect. That'll be great. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah.
Did you say
Probably text.
text? Perfect. All righty. Oops, don't need that after all. Text. Yes, that was my husband. Glad it wasn't a stranger. And how about for you, Clint? What works best for you?
Probably text or call.
Okay. Perfect. Very good. Okay, now I am actually going to hop over here to the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement can be a little bit intimidating. It's an 8-page document that was written by a bunch of lawyers, and I promise I am not going to read every word of this to you, but I do want to go over some of the important stuff again, just so that you're prepared and so that we have a chance to answer any questions, and feel free to interrupt me at any point, okay?
All right.
Okay, so first of all, we'll start with something easy. Clint, do you have a middle initial? How do you want your name to appear on the purchase agreement?
Yeah, Clint, in is my middle initial.
Okay,
Yep.
and spell that one more time for me.
SCHMITH.
So it's Smith, or is it Schmidt?
Yeah, just Schmidt.
Okay, I've never seen it with the H on the end.
Yeah, I haven't either other than our name.
Really? Very cool. And Reagan. Did I spell that correctly?
A and E are swapped.
It's REGAN.
So sorry.
Okay.
And do you have a middle initial you want included?
Yes, R.
Okay, very good. So on this part of the purchase agreement, this is where we're going to just put in the property address of the home that we're going to be making an offer on. Down here, we skip down, and this is where we are going to include any appliances that you want to ask for with the property. Now, when we're out and we're searching for homes, on the MLS sheet, the seller will automatically list what appliances they intend to leave. However, what is written here in the purchase agreement is what takes precedence. So for example, if on the MLS sheet we see that the seller is offering to leave the refrigerator, the stove, the dishwasher, but if we don't write any of that in here, the seller is not obligated to leave any of those items. So what we put on here is really important, and that takes priority. There are instances too, like let's say, for example, the seller has not automatically offered to leave the washer and dryer, and yet that's something important that you guys want to ask for. This is the place where we would need to ask for that. Any questions on any of that?
Nope.
Perfect. All right, now we'll skip down here to the purchase price. And even though you've been approved for 150, you're saying that probably you want to spend less than that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea yet of what that amount might be?
Realistically, I'd say probably under 130.
Okay. How about we just call this 125 to make it easy? Does that work?
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Now, this part down here is regarding the earnest money. And the earnest money is the money that you submit to the seller when you make your offer. And like I said before, in this price range, there are going to be buyers you are fighting with to get this house. So the earnest money kind of shows your good faith to the seller that you really intend. Sorry, am I echoing here? Can you hear that, or is it just me?
You're good now. It did for a little bit, but you're good now.
Okay, weird. But what it does is when the seller accepts your offer, they're going to take their home off the market. They are not going to be entertaining any other offers once they have officially agreed to your offer. So what this earnest money does is it shows the seller that you're serious. You really do intend to go through with the purchase. Now, typically, they like to see the earnest money amount to be about 1% of the purchase price. However, in this case, I think we would probably be okay with maybe closer to 1,000. Would you be okay with submitting and by the way, that money gets credited to you at closing. It's not just an extra $1,000 that you're just giving to the seller, but it will be credited to you at closing. Would you feel okay? Would you be able to go ahead and submit $1,000 up front when we make the offer on the home?
Yeah, that'd probably be all right. So if they reject the offer, you get that back as well.
Correct. And actually, Clint, I do not officially give the money. We don't give that money to the seller until your offer is accepted.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to have to chase that down if your offer doesn't get accepted.
Right.
So I'm going to put 1,000 in this blank. And by the way, when we're finished with this, I will email you everything we're talking about here so that you have everything in front of you and can use it as a reference.
Okay.
But after you do get your offer accepted, that check it's actually a check made out to the listing company, that company that has the home listed. That check will get cashed within 2 business days. So I always like to warn people of that in case you have to transfer money or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that?
Nope.
All righty. On the next page, it deals with financing. And we know that you are going to be getting a new mortgage for the home, and I believe you're getting an FHA mortgage, correct?
I'm not sure. I think we talked about just a conventional mortgage, but
Okay. Doesn't matter either way. I will double check on that.
okay.
But what this is, the main part of this that we need to address is with regard to closing costs. And I do think that Jim said that you wanted to see if we could get the seller to pay $3,000 towards your closing costs. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the only thing with that is we have to keep in mind, like, let's say we're going to offer $125,000 for the house. And we're going to ask the seller to pay $3,000 towards your closing costs. Well, in all reality, what we're really offering the seller is $122,000 because we're giving them a price of $125,000, but we're also asking for $3,000 in cash that the seller is not going to get to keep. So if we're in a multiple offer situation, which we probably will be, just know that if another buyer comes along and they offer a true $125,000 and don't ask for any help with closing costs, their offer is probably going to win. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yep.
Now, a lot of homes in this price range recently have been selling for even more than their asking price. So let's say the house you fall in love with happens to be in that category, and we want to offer over asking price. Well, I'm just going to use an example. Let's say it's listed for 125 and we think it's really worth 130, which does happen sometimes. So if we wanted to offer a true offer of 130 and we still wanted to ask the seller to pay 3,000 towards your closing costs, then in that case we would really need to offer 133 in order to give the seller a true 130. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not saying we necessarily are going to have to do that, but in my gut, chances are really good that we probably will have to do that. We had a house listed for 125 just here in the last month in Greenwood, and we had 7 offers that were over asking price.
Dang.
Yeah. So I'm not kidding. It is very, very competitive. And part of the reason for that is because not very many of those homes come on the market. So
Right.
interest rates are super low right now, which means we have an even larger pool of buyers to compete with. And yet we have so very few homes in that price range. So that's why it's kind of dog eat dog when we get to the part where we're making an offer.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Down here, time for obtaining financing. You don't really need to worry too much about this other than as soon as we get your offer officially accepted, you're going to be working closely with Jim and with Sean to give them all the paperwork they ask for. And probably there's going to be times where you're like, you already asked for that. I already gave it to you. Give it to them again. It's going to happen. We'll just prepare for that. Down here for closing. Now, closings typically happen about like 30 to 45 days after your offer gets accepted. So are you guys, what's your current situation? Are you in a lease or what's that situation right now?
We are living with my parents right now, so we have no lease or nothing like that to worry about.
Oh, perfect. You know, that puts you in the best position because you don't have to worry about paying to cancel a lease. And because you don't have a home that you have to sell first, that's going to make your offer more appealing to the seller. So awesome. Very good. Moving right along on possession. Now, if we fall in love with a house and end up making an offer on a home that is completely vacant, then we're going to ask for possession at closing. No big deal. We're not inconveniencing anyone. But if we go in there and we see, okay, there's clothes in the closet, there's toys on the floor, we know that a family lives here, then we're going to be polite and we're going to give them an extra 48 hours after closing to get moved and get all of their stuff out. Now, even though we're going to be nice for 2 days and give them those 2 days free, if they don't have all their junk out of there within that 48 hours, then we're going to charge them $300 a day as liquidated damages. And that's a pretty hefty amount. And in 21 years of doing this, I've never had a buyer that we had to push this, but we want that number to be a little bit intimidating to make sure that they do get out on time.
Alrighty.
Survey. This is a survey of the property is not this sort of survey that they're talking about here is not where they're going to go out and put stakes in the ground and strings and mark it all off. What they are going to do instead is give you just like a drawing just on a piece of paper of the dimensions of the house and where your yard is and the dimensions of your lot. And the reason why that's important
Uh-huh.
is we want to make sure that, you know, when we see a house with a mini barn or a fence or whatever, we want to know what belongs to you and we want to know what belongs to the neighbor. So this is actually included in that $3,000 closing cost amount that we're already budgeting for. And it's definitely well worth the money. It's about $170, but it is totally worth it.
All right.
After that, flood insurance or flood area, if after we get your offer accepted, we find out that the property is sitting in a flood zone and we didn't know that before, we actually put this in here as a safety net for you so that you can get out of the purchase agreement. We certainly don't really want to have you buy a home that's sitting in a flood zone, and we don't want you to have to pay flood insurance either, because that's pretty expensive. And stop me at any time. I'm doing lots of talking. You guys okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Homeowners insurance. We're just going to state that within 10 days after your offer is accepted, we want you to get a quote for homeowners insurance. And a good place to start would be with whomever you have your auto insurance with, or if you've had renter's insurance before, anything like that. We just want to get a quote and make sure that the property is insurable. Another thing we want to do is we definitely want to have a home inspection performed. And the cool thing is, we're not going to do the home inspection before we make the offer. We're going to make the home inspection after your offer is accepted. And we're going to make sure that there aren't any major defects that you don't want to inherit.
Okay.
So when you do the home inspection, why is this happening? I don't get it. So sorry. So when you do the inspection, you are going to get a big fat inspection report from the inspector. It's probably going to be at least 30 pages. And they feel like their job is to nitpick every little aspect of the home. And that's good. That's what we want them to do. But just know that the point of the inspection is not to go in and beat up the seller on every little scratch on the wall. We know the home is used. We know it's been lived in. But what we do want to see for your protection is that the home is inhabitable and it's going to be a safe place for you and your family. Any questions on any of that?
Nope.
Okay.
The $1,000, do you pay that after the inspection or before the inspection for the?
Great question. You pay that before. You mean for the earnest money?
Yes.
That is before. That's the very first thing that comes out of your checking account is that earnest money. And then, and that's a very good question, Reagan. I'm glad you said that, because you're going to have 15 days to perform your home inspection, get the report back from the inspector, and then make a response to the seller. So 15 days, and you just paid earnest money. I mean, within a 2-week period, and the home inspection could, depending on the size of the home you end up buying, could be between $400 and $500. So that's another big chunk of change to be prepared for here in that first 2-week period after you've made the offer on the house.
All right.
Now, would you feel more comfortable if, you know, maybe we tried to make that earnest money amount a little bit less than 1,000, like maybe try for $750 and see if the seller would accept that?
Yeah, that could be helpful.
Okay, sure. And the only reason again, the norm is to try to get it as close to that 1% mark as possible. So if we're looking at a $125,000 house, 1% of that would be about $1,250. At least 1,000 makes the seller feel like you've got a little more skin in the game. You know, that they're not going to take their home off the market and then you're going to flake out on them. Now, also, Reagan, with regard to the earnest money and the inspection, Like, let's say we get to the inspection and there's a major defect that you guys are not comfortable with at all. You ask the seller to fix it and the seller refuses to fix it. Well, at that point, if you and the seller cannot come to an agreement on what would be considered a major defect, and you don't want the house in that condition and the seller is not willing to fix it, and if you both can't come to an agreement and you cancel the contract, then you would get that earnest money back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now you would still be out the money for the inspection because the inspector,
Right.
of course, is going to want to be paid at the time of the inspection. Now, let's say
Okay.
things are going smoothly. You've paid the earnest money. You've done the inspection. Everything looks great. We're cruising on to closing. And then one day you just wake up and decide, I changed my mind. I don't want the house after all. Well, in that case, you will lose your earnest money.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, if you think of something, just stop me, okay?
All right.
So down here, this paragraph pertains to a home warranty. On some houses, sellers are automatically offering a home warranty, or in some cases, it's something that you could pay for yourself or that you could ask the seller to pay for. Typically, a home warranty costs about $600. You don't have to get one. And what it does, it's different from your homeowner's insurance. Your homeowner's insurance is what covers the big ticket items. So, we had that storm come through here about a week ago. And, if there was roof damage or siding that came off your house, anything like that, you're going to want to make a claim with your homeowner's insurance. The home warranty is different. It covers a lot of the mechanical stuff that is inside your home. So it would cover the appliances, the furnace, the air conditioner, stuff like that. And you certainly don't have to decide right now whether you want the seller to provide a home warranty or not. Just know again that we're looking at about $600 that would come out of the seller's pocket and might make your offer a little bit less appealing if we're in that multiple offer situation. And again, it is something that you could buy yourself later.
Okay.
Okay. Disclosures. Every home that we look at is going to have what's called a seller's residential real estate disclosure. And I'm going to hop over here and just pull up one of these. It's a 2-page document that nitpicks every single aspect of the home. And the seller's responsibility is to go through there and answer every question and mark whether that specific item is not included. I'm going to blow this up a little so you can see it better. So like appliances are over here. So let's take clothes dryer, for example. The seller needs to mark whether the clothes dryer is not included, whether it's defective, not defective, or if they don't know, it's okay for them to mark that they don't know. But what we want to do, Clint and Reagan, is pay careful attention to this column here that is marked defective. There's another one over here, down here as well. Those are the items we really want to pay attention to because those are the items that are the seller is telling us up front, hey, look out, buyer beware, this doesn't work. Okay. And it's a 2-page document. And on the second page, the seller has room back here for additional comments. So let's say that they know that there's something wrong with the home that wasn't specifically asked about in the disclosure. We want to pay attention to this box too, and just make sure that we're well aware of what we're getting into when we make the offer. Okay.
All right.
And then if by chance you happen to make an offer on a home that was built prior to 1978, there is a chance that the home might have lead-based paint in it. So a lead-based paint disclosure is something else that we would be signing. And on this one, the seller only has to answer 2 questions. The first one is yes, they know of lead-based paint in the home, or no, they do not know of lead-based paint in the home. Or question number 2, the seller has records of lead-based paint, or the seller does not have records of lead-based paint. So this form is a little less intimidating. Now, I think you mentioned earlier that you do have kids. How old are your kids?
5 and 2.
Okay, very good. Well, you know, the truth is most homes that, you know, were built prior to 1978 that might have had any lead-based paint in them have probably been repainted time and again since then. However, if
Right.
it's something that you're concerned about with your kids, you know, that you think they might lick the windows or something like that, then I would probably
Yeah.
recommend that we make sure that we don't get a home that was built before 1978, just to make you guys feel more comfortable.
All right.
Okay. And
Good.
when we're finished with our call, I will also send you this lead-based paint booklet. You can just keep it by your bed in case you have trouble sleeping and you want to read about lead-based paint, but I will send that to you when we're done here. Okay, hopping back to the purchase agreement. Any other random questions?
Anything?
So the paper that they have to fill out, the seller, that they put if it's effective or not, do you get that before or after you have an inspection of the home?
Great question. And it depends. So up here, this is where it talks about that seller's disclosure, Reagan. And when we make the offer, we're going to tell the seller up front that the buyer has received the disclosure or the buyer has not received the disclosure. So sometimes, and it really depends on the agent who has the home listed. We are supposed to get this form filled out by the seller at the time that we list the house. And when an agent does that, oftentimes they will put that in the form of an attachment onto the multiple listing service, and we can see that beforehand. You can look at it beforehand. I can look at it beforehand. But every once in a while, there will be a situation where, okay, we got to make this offer now. There are other buyers lurking and we haven't seen the seller's disclosure. So in that case, we would mark, hey, by the way, we didn't get to see your seller's disclosure, and that's for your protection.
Okay.
Okay. And just know that a lot of times, you know, especially if a seller has lived in a home for a really long time, they may answer that seller's disclosure to the best of their ability. And then when the home inspection comes around, there may be some items that come up that the seller honestly didn't know about. So the home inspection definitely takes precedence even over the seller's disclosure.
Okay.
Great question. Anything else with that?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Title insurance, I won't bore you too much with this. There is title insurance that protects you as a buyer and title insurance that protects the seller. The good news is that your portion of that title insurance is much less expensive than the seller's portion. And that also has been budgeted into that $3,000 worth of closing costs that we're going to get help with.
Okay.
Taxes. Down here, we just want to make sure we're going to mark the paragraph that says that the taxes are going to be prorated for the calendar year. And so what that means is that the seller will be responsible for the taxes on the property every day that they own the property right up until the day of closing. And then you will take over those taxes from the day of closing forward. So that's just how we're going to budget that. If by chance you would make an offer on a home that is in a homeowners association, then we want to make sure that we get all documents that pertain to the homeowners association within 7 days to make sure you can live with everything, all their rules and covenants. Typically, it seems like most people have questions about, can you park a boat in the driveway? Or what kind of fence can you have? Or are mini barns allowed? And honestly, the best way to get answers to those questions is drive through the neighborhood. Take a look and see, are there fences? Do people have mini barns? How many cars are parked in the driveway? And that'll typically give you a good idea for what's going on in the neighborhood. Okay. Down here, we are disclosing that you do not have a real estate license. I'm assuming that's correct, or we probably would not be sitting on this call together right now.
Yep.
And then down here, when we get to the part about the expiration of the offer, in a normal, moderate market, we would be polite and we would give the seller probably 24 hours to respond to our offer. However, we are not in a normal, moderate market. We know already, and I've probably beat it into your heads and you're sick of hearing me say it, but we're going to be competing. Just point blank, there's going to be other offers regardless of the house that you like. There will be other offers. So in that case, we're going to be a little bit more obnoxious with our request time from the seller. And depending on the situation and what's going on, we may ask for a response within 5 hours. We may ask for a response within 2 hours. And the reason for that is we don't want to give the seller too long to reply to your offer, because they might just sit on it and see if a better offer might come in. So that's why we're going to give them a very, very short window to jump on your offer.
All right.
Any questions on any of that? That is the whole purchase agreement.
Nope,
You got anything?
I don't.
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Okay, cool. Well, and you know what? I mean, when we get off of here or sometime over the weekend, if you guys are like, oh man, we forgot to ask this, we forgot to ask that, you'll have all of my contact information and just reach out anytime with no questions are off limits.
All right.
A couple of other things on here before we get to the fun stuff of actually talking about the home that you guys are looking for. This is just an office policy here that we have to present to every buyer that we work with. And just some general things on here. Number one, electronic signatures. You guys are both young. You're probably used to using electronic signatures, but the system we use, it'll either be .loop or DocuSign that we send documents to you in. It's completely easy to use. You can sign right from your phone. I'm sure you guys have used something like that before.
Yeah.
And then affiliated disclosure. I really apologize. It's driving me nuts.
That's all right.
I was like, is my phone still on? What's going on? Okay, I don't know what's happening. Affiliated business disclosure. What this states is that there are certain companies that pay our office marketing dollars to put their business cards, their paraphernalia, their brochures in our office. You are not obligated to use any of those companies. We just have to tell you that they pay us marketing dollars. Independent inspection and repair. We kind of talked about that in the purchase agreement. We are going to highly recommend that you do get a property inspection, and we have different inspectors that do a wonderful job that we can recommend you to. Lead-based paint. We talked about that also with homes pertaining that were built prior to 1978. Wiring instructions, we really do not have to worry about. Basically, what this states is, well, I guess we do have to worry about it a little bit, just in case. If you get any sort of weird looking email that looks like it's from me, but that it's asking for your banking information, please give me a call, text me, whatever, and let me know, because I promise you I will never need your banking information.
All right.
But and really the wiring stuff only applies when you are bringing money to the closing that is greater than $10,000. So you're only going to be bringing a check anyway. So that's why I was like, the wiring stuff really doesn't apply to you. But if you get some scammer that's trying to make you think it is, just know that there's nobody that should be asking for your banking information at all.
All right.
Psychological effects, if you are concerned at all about the property and that, it might have a psychological effect, let me know and we can ask the seller if they know. For example, like a psychological effect might be, did somebody die in the property? Or something like that. So if you have any questions about that, we can always ask. Just know that this is kind of weird, but the seller is not, by law, they don't have to disclose it up front. That, going back to that 2-page seller's disclosure that we looked at earlier, that is not one of the questions that's on there. So if it is a big deal to you and you specifically want to know, then we need to point blank ask the seller that. Okay?
No.
Did you say something?
I said, all right.
Okay, cool. Lending and legal stuff. Basically, this says if you are getting a mortgage for the home, then you have your choice in choosing the mortgage person that you work with, or any lawyers, any attorneys that you want to have review the paperwork. You are more than welcome to do that. Property taxes and title insurance, all of this will be calculated by the title company for us. Buyer's office policy and agency. What this means is that we would be representing you as the buyer. You would be our only concern. We are not representing the seller. We are only looking out for your best interest. Now, there is in the state of Indiana what's called limited agency. And that would be if by some strange chance of luck, you end up making an offer on a home that I personally have listed. If that happens, then any information the seller has given me, I could not pass on to you. And likewise, any information you have given me, I could not pass on to the seller. And I promise you, I've been doing this long enough. I am not going to risk losing my license and giving away information that I shouldn't. I'm going to behave. But just know that in the state of Indiana, that is perfectly legal. It's very rare that it ever happens, but it could happen, and all is good with that.
All right.
Did you start to say something, or was that just me taking a breath?
No, I said all right.
Okay. Code of ethics just basically means that I have to treat you honestly and fairly, and I will certainly do my best. Recordings at the property. This is kind of a new thing, but just know that with all the high-tech equipment that is out there now, the Ring doorbells and all that stuff, there's a very good chance that the sellers might kind of be spying on us when we're in the house, or might be able to hear what we're saying. So any super rude comments or anything like that, I mean, we might want to say those outside of the home. Or if you're perfectly fine with being honest and letting the seller know what you really think, just know that they might be eavesdropping on us. New construction. If you guys were possibly thinking about building a home, have you guys given any thought to building?
No.
Okay. I think, unfortunately, In Greenwood anyway, I think the starting prices on a brand spanking new home is closer to 200,000 anyway. So we won't worry about that just yet. But if you did ever decide to, that you were curious and you even wanted to go look at a model home or a spec home with a builder, just let me know and I would be happy to go with you and do that.
Okay.
And then there's some good do's and don'ts in here before we actually get to the closing table. Basically, keep paying your bills on time. Do not do anything that would, mess up your credit between now and closing, is what all these do's and don'ts say.
All right. I'm going to set you up here a little bit.
Okay.
On this. I don't know if you can see us or not still. Probably not.
I can see you and a ceiling fan.
Okay.
I lost Reagan.
All right. Hang on a second. My back was starting to ache how I was sitting.
Oh,
and I was
no. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if you just point the screen down a little bit, that might work.
All right.
There you go. Oops. Yeah. That works.
All right.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I can actually see more of you now than the way we were doing it before. So you killed us back for no reason. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Let's see. Anything else? Oh, this doesn't really pertain to you guys. Remember when I was talking about title insurance and I said that the seller's portion is going to be a lot more expensive than yours is? This is actually a breakdown that really pertains more to the seller because the seller's expense with title insurance is going to be based on the final sale price of the home. Your portion of the title insurance is going to be the same regardless of what price home you buy. It's going to be about 160 or 170 bucks regardless. But this is a form that we do have to get your signatures on also, just to show that we did go over that.
Okay.
And then the very last thing here, I
I did have one. What is the title insurance?
Yeah, good question. So title insurance basically is insurance to protect you, that kind of what you see is what you get, so that there aren't any liens on the property. It would protect you. Like, let's say they will do what's called a title search prior to closing, and that is to protect you and make sure that maybe the seller had not paid their sewer bill in the last few years, and there's this huge bill against the property. The title insurance is going to protect you if something like that did not get disclosed prior to closing, so that, after you take over, it's after closing, and now the sewer company is knocking on your door wanting the money that the previous owner owed them. If the title company did not discover that in your search, then that would be an example of what title insurance would cover, because we want you to have a clear title on the property when you take over as the new owner.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, and this last thing, this is kind of probably equivalent to like when you took your job and you met with the HR department. This basically lets you know when you met with HR, you found out what you were going to get paid before you accepted the job, right?
Yep.
Well, that's how this form is as well. And so we'll go through this here together. And let me see if I can remember. So we had Clint N. We'll see if Schmidt.
Yep.
And we'll see if I can spell Reagan's name correctly this time. Reagan, was it R?
I'll grab the charger real quick. Hello.
Oops, you grabbing a charger?
Yeah.
Can you hear my obnoxious puppy playing with his toy?
I can't.
Oh, okay. Then I didn't even have to say anything. Are your girls wondering when supper's going to be? Are they wondering what's going on?
Well, we have 2 boys.
Oh, I don't know why I thought you had girls.
Boys.
How are you doing with all the homeschooling stuff and e-learning?
Well, neither one of them are. Our son, he just turned 5, so neither one of them are in school yet.
Okay.
So I haven't had to deal with that. I watch my niece because my sister's a nurse at Methodist, so I've had to help her with hers, but
Okay. How old's your niece?
She's 6.
Okay. Wow. Is your sister nervous about going into the hospital every day, or how's she holding up?
She doesn't really get too nervous about anything, so
Good.
she's been good.
Well, then that's who we want as a nurse, right? The people that don't get too nervous. We want them staying calm.
Yep.
All right. We'll wait for Clint.
All right. I think I got us. Get this plugged in.
No problem. I'm going to take a drink of water real quick while you're doing that.
All right. All right.
Okay, you back? All righty. So, since you guys are not in a lease and you have a little bit more flexibility right now, did you guys have a time frame that you were thinking that you would ideally like to be in the house?
You say, could you say it again? I'm sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
So ideally, when would you like to be in your new home?
I mean, we're not in a real big rush because, I mean, you know, my parents haven't said they plan on kicking us out yet, but
right,
probably, I'd say, what, 6 months at the most.
Okay, cool. So right before the holidays, maybe right around Reagan's birthday, right?
Yeah.
That'd be a nice birthday present. Okay, cool. So this is the middle of April. So what if we say that our goal is to have you in your new house by the end of October? Would that be good?
Yep.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Perfect. So I'm going to put that there. Now, the state of Indiana does stuff, I think, a little bit backwards and a little bit goofy. So earlier on, I said that my interest was going to be representing you as the buyer. I'm not going to be representing the seller. I am only looking out for your best interest. Now, of course, in doing my job, I do expect to get paid, but the weird thing is, even though I'm representing you, you're not going to pay me. How's that?
Okay. Sounds good.
That's what we call a win-win, right? So now there is something weird that, so let's say that you go out and let's say that you talk to a builder. Even though I know you're not looking at building, we'll still use that as an example. Or let's say that you saw a for sale by owner home that you were curious about. The only time that you might have to pay for my commission is if you talk to the builder without me, or if you talk to the for sale by owner seller without me. There is no reason why you should ever have to pay my commission. So if you're curious and you want to talk to a builder, or you see a great for sale by owner house that you want to look into, just jot down the address, jot down the phone number, and let me call them. I have never once had a builder or a for sale by owner that was not willing to work with me. So that would be the only case that you might be stuck paying for my expenses, and yet there's no reason that has to happen. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Now, the state of Indiana also says that I can charge you what's called a retainer fee. And that means that before we ever get in the car, before we ever go to a house, I can charge you up front for my gas, for my time away from my family, whatever. However, I don't really think it's fair for me to get paid until we're at the closing table and I have successfully found you a home. So is it okay with you if I put 0 in that blank?
Sounds good to us.
All right, that'll work. The commission typically in our area is based on a percentage. It's usually either 3 or 3.5% of the purchase price. So I'm just going to put 3.5% in there. I am not going to put anything with regards to a specific dollar amount that I'm requiring. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Everything else on here, we actually have already talked about. It was word for word with regard to the agency relationship before and the limited agency that we're going to be representing you, not the seller. If by chance we end up representing both parties, none of the information is going to go back and forth. So the last question would be, do you want me to represent you and work for you?
Yeah, I do believe so. I do have one question just out of
Sure.
curiosity though.
Yeah.
How how do you get paid? Like how is that
Yeah.
where's that 3.5?
Great question. So that gets negotiated on the front end when the seller hires their realtor to represent them. Whatever commission that seller and their realtor have agreed to ends up getting split between that agent and the agent representing the buyer. And the reason why I put either 3 or 3.5% in that blank is because typically, and there is no hardcore rule about this at all, but it just seems to be that in our area, a lot of the times the commission that is being charged seems to be either around 6 or 7%. So when that gets split between the agent representing the seller and the agent representing the buyer, that amount is either going to be 3 or 3.5%. So yeah, that's just something goofy that Indiana does. I am totally representing you. I'm looking out for your best interest, and yet it's really the seller that's paying me. How's that for weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're one of the few states that does it that way. So I don't really know why we do it that way, but it's definitely in your best interest. And so like for us signing this together, it's not really saying that you're going to pay me. Really what it's saying is that you're going to be loyal to me, so that when we're going out and we're looking at houses, we're doing this, we're doing that, I'm taking time away from my family and from other clients. This is just your commitment that you really are going to stay faithful and stick with me to the end. And yet at any point, I would want you to be honest with me. And if you feel like I am just doing a horrible job representing you and you are not happy with me at all, then I would want you to cancel this contract. I would want you to let me know that. Is that fair?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions on any of that?
Nope.
Okay. How about we get to the fun stuff and talk about the house you guys are wanting?
Sounds good.
Okay. So you've said ideally you want to be at or below 130, correct?
Yep.
And you guys originally called about that house on Mays Road over in Franklin Township. Is that kind of the area you're wanting to be in, or where would you like to end up?
Kind of that area. I don't know. You tell what you want.
Well, I don't care. I do. Just like,
I'm pretty darn flexible. I work over here on the southeast side, right inside of 465.
Okay.
But we've looked basically all over the place. I I am willing to move.
Don't want.
Huh?
Probably easier to say
Yeah.
don't want.
Pretty much nothing on the north side,
We don't want anything in Indianapolis.
which probably wouldn't be our price range anyways. But yeah, I want to be outside of Indianapolis, ideally.
So explain a little bit more of outside of Indianapolis, because that house on Mays Road has an Indianapolis address. And
Okay,
Franklin Township is Indianapolis.
right. So in my mind, more outside of 465,
Gotcha.
maybe even a few miles outside of 465.
So am I hearing you correctly that you don't want your kids maybe going to IPS?
Correct.
Okay. So you would want them to be in one of the township schools.
Yeah.
Okay. And so and you said, Clint, you work on the southeast side?
Yep.
Okay. Where do you work?
McAllister Machinery,
Oh, okay.
just off of 465.
My husband used to be a CNC machinist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Until I
Yeah.
bribed him and persuaded him to get a real estate license and come join me in this crazy world. So you'll actually get to meet him. His name is Jason. And he kind of takes over and steps in when we get to the inspection part, because, sorry, Reagan, I think that's kind of a guy's thing when they're talking about all that. So he's wonderful with all of that, and he will take great care of you. So you're kind of getting 2 agents for the price of, well, you guys aren't paying for it, so for the price of none, we'll say. But okay, so Franklin Township is an option. What about Perry Township, which is a little bit further west?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I would consider it.
What about
for me?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I would be more willing to move. Like, I like more rural area, and I'd even be willing to move down close towards like Columbus, Brown County. But I know she's not really. I don't think she wants to get that far out. Her father lives in Brown County, but she don't want to go that far.
Now, so you guys are living with Clint's parents or Reagan's?
My parents.
Okay, where are you guys right now?
We are just Franklin Township.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So Reagan, what's your input on location? Where would you like to end up?
Well, I would really like to end up in like the New Pal area. That's like probably my top pick.
Okay. Why is that important to you?
I've just my dad, his wife, her nephews have went to like New Pal schools, and I think they have a good school system. I'd like for my kids to end up there.
Okay. So Clint, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like that area as well.
So do we want to make that like our first option if we could find anything in the New Pal area?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. And then maybe Franklin Township as second option, or what were you thinking?
I would say, I mean, this is just my general region. I'd say like no further than north than like 40 out towards like State Road 9, Greenfield area, maybe not quite that far, and then south in that area. And then I know we also looked where on the southwest, like kind of going down towards like Martinsville area. What's the other?
Mooresville?
Mooresville. Yeah, Mooresville. Like we've looked all around there too. Some, we kind of like that area as well.
Okay.
But like I work obviously on the southeast side of Indianapolis, so that side would be closer.
Okay. Greenwood or Johnson County, has that been an option at all?
Yeah, possibly.
Do you want me to include that in our search parameters too?
Sure.
It's up to you. We don't have to.
That's fine. Like she said, we're pretty open to anywhere really, other than in the city, or
Okay. Gotcha. And you said ideally you want to stay 130 or less on the purchase price. Is there anything else that is important with regard to the home itself that you would like, that you're looking for in a house? Do you care, like, whether it's a 1-story, 2-story? Does it have to have a garage? What are you looking for?
ideally for me, I'd like a garage and at least a half acre, but I know our price range is pretty low, so
Okay. Those are tough to come by. They really, really are.
yeah.
If we find one, great, but we'll just have to do our best and see, right? Is there anything that is an absolute deal breaker for you other than staying at that price point? What was that?
She's
I don't really want to be in like a what's it called? Housing edition. I'd rather just, not be in one. I don't know how else to say it.
Like we kind of call them cookie cutter neighborhoods.
Yes, I don't want to be in. Yeah, I don't want a cookie cutter neighborhood.
Gotcha. Now, sometimes we come across homes that are a little bit older, like maybe built in the 1960s or 70s. They're in neighborhoods, but they're not in those housing additions that you're talking about. And they do typically have a little bit larger lot size than what those other homes have. Would that be something you guys might consider?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my dog was going cuckoo right here, and I just had to pitch the toy and get rid of him. Okay. Okay, cool. So a garage would be great. You don't really want to be in a housing addition or a cookie cutter neighborhood. If we could find half an acre, that would be bonus. We do not want to be inside of 465. We want to be on the outskirts, anywhere from New Pal to Franklin Township, Greenwood, Mooresville, Martinsville, correct?
Yep.
Am I missing anything?
Well, we were also looking even, I know it's outside of Franklin Township, but like even up to like Fairland.
Oh,
yeah. Towards like Shelbyville, any of that area would be cool too.
Yeah, and that might increase our chances of finding what you're looking for. That's more rural area. Now, would you consider Shelbyville also, or Acton?
Yep.
Wanamaker?
Yep. That's where, actually, that's pretty much where we're at right now. Real close to Wanamaker.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
I'm writing all this down so I don't forget. Okay, now going back to like the down payment that'll be needed, the earnest money, the money for the home inspection, all of that jazz. How far out do you think we are from, having that money saved and being ready to pull the trigger on that stuff?
Right now we have just a little over 7,000.
Yeah.
Very good. And like I said, so typically the closing happens about 30 to 45 days after we get the offer accepted. So when we make the offer, the money that you guys are going to need to budget for, and feel free to write this down if you want to, because it's easy to forget everything. But your earnest money is going to be paid upfront when we get the offer accepted. And then very shortly after that is going to be the money for your home inspection. So even if you do, let's just say 1,000 for your earnest money, because it's going to be credited towards your down payment anyway, and it's going to make your offer stronger. So let's stay with that $1,000 amount for your earnest money, and let's budget $500 for your home inspection. I would rather budget a little bit high just to be on the safe side. So that's $1,500 up front. The other two expenses that you'll need to talk with Sean specifically about would be with regards to your homeowner's insurance and your appraisal. Some lenders collect those two things at closing, and some lenders want those paid for ahead of closing. And for your homeowner's insurance, you have to pay for 1 full year up front. So, excuse me, I would probably budget maybe $1,200 for that. And then the appraisal, I would probably budget maybe about $400. Now, that $3,000 that we're going to ask the seller to help you with for closing costs, so that's going to come in the form of a credit to you at closing. But some of these items just have to be paid for before closing, which would be your inspection and the appraisal and your homeowner's insurance. But just remember, you are going to get that credit back at closing. But I just want to make sure you don't feel like you're getting punched in the stomach on the front end and that you're getting hit with any unexpected surprises going in. Okay.
Yep.
Any questions anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had talked about?
Well, this might be kind of a silly question, but what is an appraisal?
Okay, great. Great question. So the appraisal is something, it's really, to tell you the truth, since you're getting a mortgage for the property, the appraisal really protects the mortgage company, because they want to know, hey, they're giving you this big lump of cash so that you can go buy a house. And if you go belly up and you stop making your payments and your mortgage company gets stuck with the house, they want to know that the amount that you are paying for the house, that it was really worth that. So an appraisal, and we're going to do that also, Reagan, before we even make an offer on your house. We're going to look at other homes in that area. We're going to see what homes are listed for. We're going to see what homes have sold for. And so even before we make an offer, we're going to look and see if the sale price that the seller is wanting is realistic. But the appraisal is the formal evaluation. So after you get the offer accepted, and after we do the home inspection, actually it's going to be ordered immediately, but we may not have the answer until after the home inspection. But that appraisal will be ordered by your mortgage company just to make sure that they really think the home is worth what you're paying for it. And we don't have an option on the appraisal. Since you're getting a mortgage, it is something that is required that you have to get. Great question, though. What other questions do you have? And again, if you think of something later, you know where to find me. So you can ask any questions at any point. What I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to set you up on a search, and it's going to cover all of these areas that we talked about. And it's going to give you all of the homes that are currently on the market that match your criteria. And then from there on out, it is going to automatically notify you as soon as a new home comes on the market that matches what you're looking for. And the cool thing about that is I'm going to hook you in directly with the website that realtors use, so that you are going to find out about homes before they appear on Zillow or Realtor.com or any of the other public websites. You're going to have first dibs at all of them. Okay. And if at any point, like I'm sending you stuff that is not what you're wanting, just let me know. they aren't my homes, so you're not going to hurt my feelings. So just let me know if I'm off track at all. Now, a couple of important things that we didn't cover. I know you've got 2 boys. Is there a certain, like amount of square footage, a certain number of bedrooms, bathrooms that you guys are wanting?
3 bed, 2 bath would be ideal. But
I think I would, if it came down to it, I would rather have 2 bigger rooms rather than 3 like really small bedrooms. But would that be okay with you?
yeah.
Okay, so you would consider a 2-bedroom if you had
Yep.
to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so in our search criteria, I will say that we want a minimum of 2 bedrooms. Now, I will tell you, because maybe in a few years when you outgrow this house, I'm hoping that you'll call me back and let me, if I do a good job, you'll let me help you again when we turn around to sell it. It's always harder to sell a 2-bedroom than it is to sell a 3-bedroom.
Okay.
So that's just something to kind of consider. And I totally get it though. Little itty bitty bedrooms are tough to navigate also, but I'm just throwing that out there because I feel obligated to tell you that with regard to 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. What about bathrooms? I know, Clint, you said 2 baths would be ideal. What if it had 1.5?
Yeah,
That'd be good.
What if it only had 1?
I would still consider it, but I don't. Would you?
I think I would. Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's definitely going to increase your options, certainly. So I'm going to put that the home has to have at least 2 bedrooms and it has to have at least 1 bathroom. Now, of course, it would still, the homes would still come through if they have 3 bedrooms or if they have 1.5 or 2 bathrooms, but we're going to keep the options as open as possible. The garage, is that a must-have, Clint?
I mean, I could always build one if I got to, but I would really like to have one.
And if the ideal home came along and it was in the school system you wanted and the bedrooms were a decent size and it had everything else but no garage, would you consider it?
Yeah, I could deal with that.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are pretty flexible. This is good. We're going to find you something.
Yeah.
This is good.
All right.
Anything else? Like, is there a certain amount of square footage you're wanting or anything like that?
What did you say?
I mean, you probably know more. What would you say is a good size house
Well, it's hard to say because if we did find a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and the 2 bedrooms were a decent size, the overall square footage of the house might still be, like 1,000 or 1,200 square feet. I'm going to say, since we've taken the parameters down to that 2-bedroom, 1 bath, let's just leave the square footage out for now and kind of see what we come up with. Would that be okay just for now?
Yeah. We lived in a trailer manufactured home before we moved in with my parents, so
okay.
We weren't real uncomfortable in that, so we don't need a giant house.
So you guys like each other and you get along. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. A friend of mine and I were talking, and about everybody I know at one point, including myself, has lived in a trailer or a manufactured home at some point. So I think it does make it cozier, and I like that.
Yeah.
So very good. Okay, anything else that we're forgetting? I know it's Friday night. You're probably ready to go feed the kids. Anything else that you wish we had covered but we didn't?
I do have a question. So, do you do anything with homes that are foreclosed on that we?
Absolutely. Yep, and they will automatically be included in your search as well. The thing that we want to be careful about with foreclosures is sometimes there can be a lot of hidden maintenance stuff that you guys might be stuck with, because if the seller lost the home in foreclosure, there's a good chance that for a period of time before they lost the home, they weren't properly taking care of the home. So, we might have to budget for some big ticket items like a new furnace, a new air conditioner. And by the way, now when you have to replace the furnace or the air conditioner, you actually have to replace both. And that's about a $7,000 or $8,000 expense. Or maybe, the roof needs replaced. So yes, we can look at foreclosures, and every once in a while we do come across kind of a diamond in the rough, maybe something that really was well taken care of, and then it was a fluke that, the spouse died and they lost the home in foreclosure or whatever. But those are few and far between. A lot of them are going to have quite a bit of deferred maintenance that we would want to consider.
Okay. And if we were, like, if there did come up that was something like that, how would you get paid then? Since there wouldn't, the seller would be kind of the bank, right?
Yes, and the bank will have already agreed to pay me.
Okay,
cool.
Yep. So no problem there. Again, the only two like little hiccups in that would be with a builder or with a for sale by owner. And again, as long as you give me the information for the builder or the phone number on the sign for this for sale by owner, I've been doing this 21 years and I've never had a builder or a for sale by owner not be willing to pay me. So, but if you contact them first, then you might be the one responsible for paying me. And there's no need for it. I don't want to see you guys have to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
that
other
was
questions?
I was going to add was I wouldn't mind having to put some work into something either. So just
To kind of make it your own?
Yeah.
Kind of make it your own.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. The echo's back. Awesome. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to send you guys the paperwork that we went over. I just need you to sign a couple of things. Number one, stating that you do want to hire me. And then the buyer handbook, you just need to initial next to each little item we talked about. And then that quote for the title insurance that we said actually pertains to the seller, but not to you. So I'm going to send that to both of you to sign electronically. And when I get that back, then I'm going to go ahead and I can set up your search, and you should have that by tomorrow. Assuming I get everything back from you guys, and then we'll just kind of go from there. And I would recommend, especially right now with all the craziness that's going on, sellers are being even more apprehensive about letting people into their homes naturally. So when I send you this list, put together like a few of the homes that look good to you and go do a drive-by of the area and just make sure that you really are comfortable with the neighborhood and the neighbors and all of that before we inconvenience the seller and kick them out of their home. Because realtors are notorious for making the house look great online, and then you drive up to it and it's like, I don't want to live here. So before we kick the seller out, because they may very well be like you, they may have young kids and it's a hassle, it's a pain in the neck to get the house all put together, grab the kids, pack them up, get out of the house, only to find out that the buyer was like, we didn't even go inside. We weren't interested at all. So if you guys can do that, that would be awesome. And then after we have shortened down the list, then let's put a few together and let's just knock them out. And we'll go, look at as many as you need to. Now, the cool thing is that you guys, and I know you've done it, you've already been with your phone, you've been online, you've been checking out Zillow and Realtor.com and all these other sites. So the cool thing is you have already eliminated so many houses already that we will probably only physically go into maybe 3 or 4 houses before you find the one. Okay. So it's kind of weird. The internet has changed all of that for us for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions or random stuff that we should have talked about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, I do one thing.
No, I'm sorry, Clint. Time's up.
So you had put like an expiration on the time to
Yeah.
find the home.
Sure.
What does that, I mean, does that just void that contract with as between me and you, or?
It would, but heck, if we get to October and maybe the timing just didn't work out, I mean, heck, with this whole virus situation, who knows how long that's going to last. But, you know,
Yeah.
if I've never had it, I've never really needed to extend that, to be honest. But if we have to, and you guys are still happy with me and I'm still happy with you, then we'll just extend that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be good before then anyway, so.
I think you will too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know if I was living with my in-laws, I'd be out of there. But they probably would have kicked me out. Okay, well, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to send this paperwork to you tonight. And again, when I get that signed back, I will create this search. Hopefully you have it sometime tomorrow. And then we'll put the list together and go look at houses. Sound good?
All right. Yep. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you guys so much, and we look forward to helping you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.
I do
Oh,
this.
hold on. What's going on? What's going on?